Does it feel like you wake up and you're already dreading the day ahead? Maybe you're wondering if being a stay-at-home mom is actually your calling because you're overwhelmed, tired, and burned out before the day has even started. Up until 2 years ago, I didn't realize that having low energy wasn't normal. Today, I'm grateful that most days I'm energized and full of life. If you are ready to begin healing so you can become the stay-at-home mom you've always wanted to be, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Slowish Parenting Podcast. I'm your host, Alexis. I'm a mama to 2 little girls and a parenting coach. I help moms who are burned out, tired, and stressed feel happy and confident so they can enjoy a little more ease in their daily life. If you want to unlearn parenting and awaken your innate design, then you're in the right place. Alrighty, let's get into today's episode. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to another episode. Today, we are going to be talking about when you feel drained as a stay-at-home mom. Feeling drained, tired, overwhelmed, exhausted, burned out, stressed. These are all words that I hear moms in this community and that I coach talk about. And these are really hard feelings. I find that in my story, a lot of the moments where I've felt drained, I have been blaming my kids. I've been putting my emotional state on them. And I know that this isn't true. And I think that if you're coming into this episode, you are hoping for really tangible, actionable things that you can do to get out of this state you're in, because you don't like it. Nobody likes it. Nobody wants to feel like they don't have energy. And I know for myself, there was a period of time, and I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I think I even said this recently. Have I missed my calling as a mother? Have I missed it? I think that these thoughts can get in our head and really make us think like there's something wrong with me. I shouldn't feel this way. And I've shared this in so many of my videos, but in one of my more recent ones, I talked about old-fashioned parenting habits. And what I shared in there was that there was so much more community back then. There was so much more help because that was just normal. That's just what people did, you know? And I think that we often forget that we were never intended to do this alone. And this is probably one of the hardest times to mother in. And I know if I happen to get older people watching this from past generations, they're going to argue and they're going to say it was just as hard. But just from my perspective and kind of my research of what I've learned from other cultures and past generations really is there was a lot more support. There was a lot more help from the community. And there's very little of that now. I just had a comment, I can't remember which video it was on, but somebody was commenting saying when they were younger, they would spend an entire weekend at their grandparents' house or at their aunt's house. And how she just feels like that's a thing of the past. And I would agree. Like, I don't think that's very common anymore. I'm not saying it doesn't happen ever, but I'm just saying that I just think it's less common that we're doing those things. And I think that it's really causing us moms to feel drained and tired and exhausted because we were never meant to do this all day, 24 hours a day. I'm trying to say 24/7, but you guys get what I mean. You were never intended to mother all the time. As we look at even indigenous cultures, you have the mothers and the aunts and the sisters, and even the fathers and the grandfathers in some societies are all helping to raise the child. You know, in the very little years, you're going to have all the women coming in and taking on all the duties. And then you're going to have, as the child gets older, the men are going to start influencing and raising this child. And so there was just a lot of support. And I'm going to guess that you don't have a lot of support. So it makes complete sense to me that you would be feeling drained and like you have no energy. But I want to reassure you that I'm going to give you some actionable things to do today. And we're going to talk through 3 different areas that I believe that if we can get a handle on, if we can understand and start to heal and work through, that we can feel less drained. And I'm going to say that 2 years ago, I had almost what I would say is no capacity for my kids to be kids. I was so overwhelmed, tired, exhausted, burned out. I just thought that was normal. And now I find that that happens less often. It happens, in those seasons where my husband and I are working a lot and trying to make money and there's stressful things coming up. Like, of course, I'm going to feel drained and have less energy, but it doesn't happen as often. And I feel like that's the goal, right? We don't want to have to sit and be in these seasons for a really long time, but it takes skill and tools and understanding. It takes a lot of inner work, which that's what I do with coaching, is helping moms to understand themselves so that they can show up as the mom that their children need, that they want to be, right? So yeah, I guess that kind of sets us up for this episode. And I'm going to give you actionable things within each of these areas that you can begin doing and applying to your life. Because that's what we all want. We can listen to concepts. We can hear all these things that we should be focusing on. But what do I do? How do I do that? How do I get there? And so, before I get into this, I do want to say that if you are feeling like after you listen to this episode, like I need more guidance. I need a blueprint. That's really what I help you do in coaching. I help you to understand the path that is going to help you to best get where you are going, because everybody's path is different. I'm not here to tell you how to be a better mom. I'm not here to tell you, these are the exact steps and here's the formula. There is no formula. It's all about this inner work that I truly believe every human being needs to do to have close, connected relationships with everyone around us. So let's get into the first area that I feel like is probably the number one cause of why stay-at-home moms are feeling completely exhausted, drained, just mentally not feeling like they can handle. They just don't have the capacity, right? That's going to be the nervous system. We have I feel like it's an epidemic. I think that's the right word. We are just in a crisis of having a nervous system that is not functioning the way it should have been in this parasympathetic state, or not even that, right? Being able to go from what a parasympathetic state is, for those of you who don't know, is that kind of calm state. Being able to regulate yourself from a fight, flight, which I'm sure you've heard of that, right? Your fight, flight responses. You're not staying there. You're able to notice that you're in that and get yourself out into the calm state. Or if you're stuck in freeze, you're able to, down regulate yourself and get yourself out of that season. And so I'm finding that moms are feeling so drained because their nervous systems, have never been taught how to regulate. Like, I feel like that's a thing of the past. I feel like nobody knows how to regulate themselves. I know for myself, when I went to school, I didn't realize that we were going to be doing nervous system work. And when we started doing it, I actually had a really interesting response. I thought I was going to get better, right? I thought like, oh, my nervous system will start healing and things are going to get better. No, that's not what happened. My nervous system actually kind of went out of control. I started snapping more. I started becoming very frustrated and angry, and my reactions were just, I don't know how else to explain it. They were just they were big reactions, very, very big reactions to things. And I knew that there, honestly, I thought maybe something's wrong with me. I can't even say I knew. I thought something was wrong with me. And I remember saying to my teacher at the time, like, I don't think this is working for me. Is this making me feel worse? And she's like, and that is actually the path to healing. You have to go from this freeze state, which I was in for years. I was just frozen, right? And you have to get out of that freeze state and into that fight, flight, fight, fright. Did I say that right? It's hard to say together. Fight, flight. I had to get into that to be able to access the that safety, that parasympathetic state. I had to do that. I had to go through that. And so to be truthful, I'm finding that I am probably at the tail end of having these responses, right? But for a long time, it felt like I couldn't control them. I felt like they were just coming out of me and they were so big and scary. And I was like, oh gosh, this is not working. But the thing was it was working. It was helping me to get unstuck, to get unfrozen, so I could actually become the mom that was calm, that was patient, because I had to get to that parasympathetic and I couldn't just jump ship. I couldn't just jump, go from here to there. I had to literally go through the process. And so now, I find myself doing fairly well. I have the tools and I have the resources, but just because I know something up here doesn't, and by the way, if you're on the podcast not listening, I'm pointing to my brain. Just because I know something doesn't mean that my reactions and my responses are always going to be perfect. And this was something I had to come to an acceptance to, is understanding that it is a process, and there is going to have to be a lot of apologies, and there's going to have to be a lot of my family having empathy for my process, And so I really found that the nervous system piece is actually what began changing the dynamics of our family. And as my nervous system began to heal, I found myself having more energy. And looking back, I was just in this state of freeze. That's why I was tired. That's why I just felt lazy. I felt drained. I felt like I couldn't motivate myself to do the things that needed to get done. And so now I'm starting to notice that my body is sustaining energy throughout the day. And this was all because of that nervous system piece. It was all because of being able to get myself out of that frozen, stuck phase and bringing myself into the fight or flight, which I think gave me a bit of adrenaline that I had to work through. And now primarily living in that calm parasympathetic state, which gives me the ability to be there for my kids and to parent my kids. But we'll touch more on that in a little bit. So yeah, and I think that I'm looking at my notes here because I don't want to miss anything because I have so much in my brain that I want to share. This is such a big topic to me. But I have learned, and I've seen in my own journey, that I believe the woman is the emotional thermometer, the emotional, I don't know what word I'm trying to look for here. She's really the energetics of the house. And when I am off, when I have a moment, it's like I drag everybody down, and that can feel so heavy and so hard. But imagine if you had the availability and you had the space and the capacity to navigate your nervous system. It's a skill, it's learned. So you know how to use it. You know how to get yourself out of the freeze state, out of the fight or flight state, and back to that calm parasympathetic. Your kids are going to be different. Your husband's going to be different. Everybody in the house is going to feel that. And so not only is it physically you feeling drained and coming out of that freeze state, but it's then going to free up the rest of your family. And I love on the Village podcast, Corey Malloy and Michelle Chatham were talking about this idea of children mirroring us. And now I can't unsee it. All I see are my kids, their responses, how their nervous system is a direct correlation to my nervous system, especially kids under the age of 7, especially. They are still 100% in tune with our energetic state. And so it's so important for us to know how to work through that and to have a really robust nervous system. And how do we do that? And so I want to give you some practical things that you can do to begin this process. So the first thing I'm going to lead you into is start understanding and researching the nervous system. You can look to Irene Lyon. I love her. Her stuff is definitely really deep, but this work is deep. This work is hard, but it makes such a massive difference in your family and family dynamic. So she's somebody I would first begin with. And then we're going to talk about now the physical body piece. And there are 3 different things that I have done. And I've shared this before, but I'll share kind of my process again of how I began jump starting my nervous system and really healing it. So the first thing I did unintentionally, by the way, was my nervous system was going to the chiropractor. I had no idea that the chiropractor was nervous system work. Had no idea. I just went because I was having headaches. They weren't going away and I was really stressed. And my midwife recommended I went. So that was a really, really cool, really beautiful experience, kind of my introduction into the nervous system space. And from there, I started doing somatics, and that was about a year ago, a little over a year ago that I started doing somatics. And that was a massive change. That was just me going from, I don't think I'd ever experienced calm to, in the first session, I had never felt so calm in my entire life. I had never felt so just like a weight lifted off. So if you want a resource for that, I love the workout, which I have a link below. It's an affiliate link, but it doesn't, cost you any extra and all the beautiful, wonderful things. It'll give me like maybe a quarter of a coffee. But yeah, I absolutely love the workout, which I love all her work and all her courses. I've done, the 5-course bundle, and I can't recommend it enough. It's been so life-changing for me. And a more recent thing I've been doing is bowspring. And bowspring is another form of exercise, and I am not one to explain this because I'm very new to it, but I will just leave a link below for someone that I really respect in the space, who can give you a lot more information on bowspring and what it can do. But this has kind of been my process, and I don't think that early on in the beginning, if I were to have done bowspring, I don't think I would have had the same experience as I did starting it, I don't know, about 3 years after kind of understanding the nervous system. So yeah, I think that those are kind of 3 things you can look into. And again, your path is not necessarily going to look like my path. Your path may look like starting with somatic exercises at home. It may even look like starting with something like yoga, right? Yoga and bowspring are similar, but very different. Yoga is kind of closing off the body and the energetics, and bowspring is opening up an expansion within the body. And so I do not think that starting with yoga could be a bad thing, right? It could actually start helping you to find calm and regulation within yourself. And it's familiar, right? So you want to stay within that. You want to stay within what's familiar because that's safe. That's really important to remember when you're making changes. And don't go trying to make all the changes at once, right? We want to start small. We want to start with small changes because they are going to start to build up. So the next area I want to talk about is nourishment. Nourishment is oh my gosh, it's vital. It is vital to helping us get out of a drained state. And I know, let's see. So I'd had my first, and I think I was about, I don't know, 4 months postpartum. I was exhausted. I remember I just felt terrible. And I had come across a influencer on Instagram. Her name's Corey Malloy. And she was sharing this pro-metabolic approach, and she was in her very early stages of it. And so it was really cool. It's really cool now to have watched her just blow up and really change so many women's life. But yeah, I just have found that I have gained vitality through nourishing my body. And nourishing my body doesn't just look like food always, right? It's that mind, body, spirit piece, and learning how to put them together for yourself. And, you know, in the beginning, like, because her course that she sells is the Freely Rooted course. I'll link it below, actually. That'll be an affiliate link as well. But I will link her Freely Rooted course, and that it's a nutrition course. It's teaching you how to properly nourish your body for proper hormone health, thyroid health, and really just to have that energy back to really embody what it's like to be a woman, because cutting calories is not it, you know, and that was a really hard shift for me to make, because I was so skinny. If you go back to my very early videos on here, like pre-conception, I was extremely skinny. And looking back now, I'm embarrassed, honestly. That was not healthy. No wonder why I didn't get pregnant for, it was like over 8 months. No wonder why. My body couldn't even sustain itself, you know? I was eating maybe 1,200, 1,300 calories a day, like not healthy. And so now my body has kind of, after having my second, you know, done a pendulum swing and has, you know, gained a bunch of weight. And so it's like now I'm trying to figure out, you know, what is safe for my body, what feels safe. And so this is where her community has really helped me to understand this process and to be less hard on myself, to have more of an understanding and more patience. And yeah, so that is something that I don't want you to skip over. I don't want you to skip over the nutrition piece, because for myself, I not only learned like eating consistently and eating nourishing foods and doing all of those kinds of things are going to help me to become the regulated mama that my kids need. But I also learned that things like eating consistently is going to stabilize my mood. I learned that I actually have a gene mutation that causes me to be low on choline. And when I'm low on choline, I can feel ragey and angry. And that's normal for me. And so it's like, whoa, okay, hey, let me figure out how to get myself the nutrients that my body needs so I'm not upset with everybody, so I'm not drained, so I'm not tired. And so I think that it's really important to start digging into this, and this can be overwhelming. I can tell you that right now, it can be overwhelming. So again, stay in the areas that feel comfortable and safe for you, while also exploring some new ideas and ways to get yourself feeling energetic again. You know, maybe fruits. Maybe you've been somebody who's like, I'm never going to have fruits. Like for me, it was orange juice. I will never drink orange juice. And now orange juice is an almost everyday thing in my adrenal cocktail, because it makes me feel alive. It makes me feel so good. And I want to have that. I'm not going to punish myself anymore by restricting orange juice. Like, how silly, you know? So what can you do to nourish yourself today? What's a few things that I've done in my journey? And the first thing is just eating consistently. I mentioned this earlier, but eating consistently throughout the day, doing 3 meals, 2 small snacks, like Ensuring that your body has a constant stream of energy. This does not mean, by the way, picking up your child's goldfish and popping them in your mouth is a snack. Not a snack. You actually probably have to go grab something like a beef stick and a cheese. Maybe it's an adrenal cocktail with some collagen and some cheese on the side. Like something that is actually going to give you the energy you need to keep going. The next thing you can start thinking about is, am I getting bioavailable nutrients? This was something I learned through Corey. I didn't even know what this was, but you want to think about things like eggs, meats, even like beef liver. I take that as one of my supplements. I make sure I have eggs because that has choline in it. And so having these bioavailable, easy to break down foods really helps to give us that energy that we're needing. So this is one you probably got to do a little research on. If I have a resource that I feel like is good to share, I will share it in the description. But if not, that might be a place you really want to start exploring. The last thing that I think more moms need to take into consideration is, are you getting enough natural sunlight? And I actually just went through a really weird little phase recently, and I didn't realize how important sunlight was. Like, I knew it was important, but I didn't realize how important it was until my body started saying, hey, you are vitamin D deficient. And my joints were achy and I could not figure out why. And all I had to do is take a vitamin D supplement, because basically we were going through the fall and we had a really rainy fall. And so I didn't get sunlight, and I forgot to take a supplement because all summer long, I don't need a supplement, right? I'm getting out in the morning for about 20 minutes a day and enjoying that sunlight on my skin. And I wasn't getting that. And so it really started to take a toll on my body. And so now in the winter, I'm supplementing. I'm supplementing with vitamin D, and I'm feeling so much better. So keep that in mind. If you live in a nice sunny place, if you're able to get out in the sunshine, if you see the sunshine in the middle of winter, run to the window. It's like, just try to soak it in, because even sometimes just seeing the sun, it can just boost your energy, boost your joy. But yeah, that's been something that kind of surprised me, that I knew was important, but I guess I just didn't realize the magnitude of it. So the last area that I think moms who are feeling drained need to work in is finding confidence in parenting. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, you're a parenting coach. Of course you're going to say this. Well, hear me out. So I find that we feel like doom and gloom and drained and sad and I don't want to do this anymore. We feel that way when we don't know how to parent, when we don't know how to be there for our kids. And so I really feel like this section here is a combination of the two above. And so when we start having sustainable energy, which we get through our nourishment of our body, right? And we're healing our nervous system, which, by the way, the nourishment piece also helps to regulate your nervous system. So it's like, how can I put these two things together, right? And create an environment for me to begin to feel safe. And the more grounded and rooted within myself, the more I begin to trust myself, because as you begin to get into that parasympathetic state, there's this for me at least, there's this natural feeling of just being grounded and being settled and feeling very confident. And when you are confident in yourself and how you're going to approach things, that changes the game for everybody. There's no longer this like, oh gosh, here she goes, another tantrum. It's like, no, I know I have the calm within me to just hold her and to calm her down, and then to have this conversation later. Like, I know that, my teenager is really struggling with something. I know all I need to do is just be a calm presence for her. I don't even need to say anything. Like there's just such confidence in yourself and coming back to trusting that motherly intuition, which I shared, recently in what old-fashioned moms did better. They knew how to trust themselves. They knew how to believe in their innate abilities because they had to, right? They had to rely on this. It's a survival skill. So I think we need to bring that back. I think that we need to get back into our innate design so that we can show up as the mom that not only our kiddos deserve and need, but the mom that we were made to be, the mom that we were intended to be. And so yeah, I guess I hope that you have found something in here that gives you hope, because hope is the start. Hope is where healing starts. And so much of what we do in the first sessions of coaching is helping you to see and find hope for the future. Because without hope, you cannot move on. You cannot move through to the other side. You have to see that there is something over here that is so amazing and beautiful that you will strive to get it, and you're going to do it, and you're going to change the way you do things because you see that there is hope over here. We can't make changes in the doom and gloom. So anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. If you have any questions about how to be a better mom, how to let go of the drained, unmotivated feeling that you have, please comment below. I love questions. They're amazing. They help me to create content in the future. And I also just love connecting with you guys. So if you enjoyed this video, could you please give it a thumbs up? If you enjoyed this content and you would like to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But anyhow, thank you guys again so much for watching, and happy parenting.